I'm going to surf as much as I can this year.
Same.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Insiders Podcast. I, from now on, are going to call you, our listeners, the outsiders who are listening to our Insider Podcast. So, welcome. Happy New Year. You'll probably hear this a little bit after New Year's Day, but today, as we record, myself and Matthew, it's the 1st of January 2023, which has a certain ring to it, doesn't it, Matthew?
Does. It sounds kind of surreal and futuristic, but at the same time sounds pretty good. 23 is my good number, so I'm hoping it's a good year.
Well, you're not 23 anymore. What did you do last night?
We went away again to a hotel near Exeter, like in the middle of nowhere, to escape fireworks for the dog. So we drove down there.
To escape fireworks for the dog because he freaks out.
Yeah, hates him. And
Yep.
but also it's just nice to, like, it was actually really cheap. And then we went around Exeter, and then today we went to a place in the UK called Durdledore or Lulwell Cove, which is kind of a bit like it's right on the coast and it's a thing. But yeah, it was pretty relaxed New Year's for me. You are...
So just the two of you.
Yeah, and the dog, yeah.
Dinner?
Yeah, had dinner and
Dinner out or dinner in?
It was at the hotel. They had their own restaurant. So
was it good?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was decent. Yeah, it was good.
Was it packed?
It wasn't, no, because it's like in the middle of nowhere to escape the fireworks. So it was pretty empty. There was a few people in. It was quite a nice like atmosphere in there.
Did you have a couple of drinks?
I had my last drink. Yeah, I'm deciding to not drink for the whole year. So which will be pretty easy for me. I'm not a drinker.
That's sick. That's massive. That's a massive one, but that's sick, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and go all year. So had a couple last night, just like ciders and stuff. And yeah, but you had a pretty heavy night.
I had a big one for me. I had mates that were in town. Now there's this spot right in the middle of Huscenot, like it's across the road from the cinema. There's like it's where they do the markets on the Sundays. And every single local surfer I think I can remember seeing was there. And I went there, and I went with these guys who are just a little bit older than me. They were the generation just above me when I moved here, expats. And I was talking to them. I was with Rob Vaughan, like a local shaper, even though he's English. And I was like, on the drive there, I was like, I'm having one beer. And I don't drink too much either anymore, Matt, but I used to be a good nudger when I was your age. And Rob was laughing at me. And you know what? I had 4. It was super fun.
Yeah.
You know, like it was New Year's Day. It was sunny. It was 21 degrees.
That's mad. That's so crazy.
And then I had to get home because we were actually going back to Cafe de Paris, which, you know, there on the round at the main crossing of Huscenot. It's like the most mythical bar here. And so I got home and had to clean up a few things at home because we were having people over for dinner. And then they turned up. So we went into town quickly, left the kids at home, knocked a couple of Riccards back. And as I pulled up at the bar, all these mates of mine that I'd had the lunch drinks with, late lunch because I'd had a nap, they were still there. They were shit-faced. It was funny, man. It was super funny. And then I kind of got on a roll, and I haven't done it for so long, and I knew the surf wasn't any good today. We come home and, like, you know, there was plenty of wine, champagne and everything. There was just 6 of us, and we had a dance-off. like one of my mate, he works for G-Brand. He's the like events manager at Volcom. So he's like, did I say works for G-Brand?
Yeah.
Yeah, his name's G-Brand. Yeah, I'm still a bit fuzzy. And like, really good. like on music. So he was like our DJ, and we just kind of painted the town red in our own house.
Yeah. And now you're
But
feeling it?
I felt it today. Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
it.
So I was going to ask you, but because usually I try and surf on the first day of the year. I try and surf every day of the year, but usually I try and make it a thing. Like I want to surf the first day of
Yeah,
the
so
year.
I used to too, huh? But
But
me, it's more Christmas.
oh, okay, yeah. See, weirdly, this year on Christmas Day, it was really like the waves were good, but I was away, so I couldn't surf Christmas Day this year. And the waves they're rubbish here today, but they're good tomorrow. Have you got anything, or I take it nothing
Yeah,
today?
yeah. Well, it was similar for us because I just had 2 good days in a row.
Yeah,
And maybe I'll write something on our Instagram page. I surf one of my old spots, La Fatania, which is across the road from Quicksilver headquarters. And on the Friday, I had like an epic session there with like 2 guys, 3 guys out, which is unheard of. Good
yeah,
size, mid-morning, and it was like so good. And I surfed my new 8.3.
yeah,
I didn't really need it for that, but like I wanted to surf this other spot, Guitarri Parliamentia, and it was a little bit too windy. And it ended up I had this session there, and I got so nostalgic because I used to surf it every day when I worked at Quicksilver, and it was just really emotional. Like one of my best friends, I used to surf it with him a lot, and he died tragically in 2010. And I think it was actually like, it's when I became an adult, when I was working at Quicksilver, and I was just thinking how important a surf spot can become to you. Like
yeah,
more than a board, more than anything. Like if you can identify with one spot, I think it's just really, really good for your career as a surfer.
definitely.
And then because today the forecast was shit, I already put it off. I said yesterday, like just enjoy things for once
Yeah,
and not put so much pressure on yourself because it's pretty hard. Like life of a fucking dedicated, like my friends, my wife, they all know. Like it's hard to go for dinner with friends. It's hard to do any of that stuff when you see it always
definitely.
works out. It always works out that it's the next day that's going to be good. Huh?
Yeah. Well, we just said it just before we press record. Is like I said to you, I'd just been to Paris over Christmas for 3 days, and it's probably the first 3 days in the last, I don't know, couple of years, if not year and a half, where I've been away from surfing in my mind, either work at board shop, surfing just waves, or the podcast, or anything like. And like I barely picked up my phone for 3 days. And obviously Paris, there's nothing to do with surf there at all. And I came back super refreshed, and actually everything in the surf world felt a bit brighter and felt a bit like cleaner. And like I'm going to go surf tomorrow, and I am so buzzing. Like I can't express it to you. Like I've got my board out ready. I've just waxed it. It's probably like jinx in it. I don't know, but I'm so like excited to go and surf after having, I mean, what, 4 days of nothing to do with it. So I get Emily's the same. She knows that whatever decision that I'm making is there's a like a little, but what about the surf? So yeah, it's nice to have
Yeah,
that.
you jeopardize a lot and you sacrifice a lot to make yourself available for it.
Yeah,
It's funny, the young Noah who come and stayed with me for a month in October, he sent me a picture the day before yesterday. He was in a hell barrel back on sunny coast, and he was like, it had been flat there for a month. Huh?
yeah,
And Sophie said it when we talked to us, like it
yeah,
had been small and everything, and I was feeling for him, and he sent me the picture through, and I was thinking, like, I remember like sunny coast because they have like extended flat spells, and it's so hard to keep motivated. And on top of that, it's an area in the world where the weather's exceptionally good and hot and sunny. It's very touristic. It's such an easy place to get caught up in nightlife and
yeah,
barbecues and on the piss and if you're not careful, there goes a few years, and you're no longer the committed surfer anymore. You come from one of my best friends when I was younger, who's a hardcore surfer, Ismail, and he used to say about this other friend of ours, I won't say his name, and he used to go like he used to be a full-time surfer and a part-time crocker. A crocker's a smoker of joints, and now he's a part-time surfer and a full-time crocker.
Yeah. There's a few people I know that, like, ability wise, are incredible surfers, but they don't have the, I'd say, commitment, or they just don't have the like full on passion for it. And then there's people I know who are, well, it's me, like full on crazy about it, and like try and move things in life to make sure that I get to surf. So it is always good.
It's the same for me. I had friends that were way better ability, and they would surf less, and it used to like spin me out.
And that's the thing for me is, like,
how can they not be keen?
I absolutely love getting messages from you of a surf spot and like of the surf. It's like right up there. I get so stoked for you, and then at the same time, I get so jealous that I'm like on the verge of quitting everything, like leaving everything and just going, I'm out. I'm moving to France. Like, I'll live on the beach.
Even though I remember someone telling me many years ago, an older guy, used to be marketing boss at Billabong, and he'd come back from Sunshine Coast a holiday, Chrissy holiday, and he'd go, and he turned into being a full-time, like social butterfly and part-time surfer too. He like rarely surfs, but he'd go, that's the thing about Sunny Coast is you surf more than here, but you surf shitty waves because it's small, but it's hot. It's so easy. Just jumping your boardies. Like them thinking about me and you, like getting all this stuff ready. They've got all that stuff ready anyway. They just go to the car park and they can go out on a normal day. It's probably like, let's say 2 to 4 foot with a 3-minute paddle out. And, like and boardies, it's all, it can be all over in an hour.
Yeah.
Where for me here, it's an hour of prep.
Yeah, well, that's
getting your wetty on, your booties, all that shit. You're bored, getting to the spot, like because I was talking about with Rob yesterday. We got so much swell here. You never know what board you're going to ride, and then it can be a 15-minute paddle out.
Yeah, well, that was the biggest thing for me is in the summer. So maybe jumping into 2022, it was the first time I ever surfed in boardies. Was when I came and surfed with you and Fipsy. And what was amazing for me is like, Fipsy would come to me or Jay would come and go, oh, do you want to go for a surf for an hour? And in my head, I'm like, well, if I go surf for an hour, I've got to go and find all my stuff. I've got to put my wetsuit on, put my boots on, get my board, make sure it's waxed up, get to the beach, to paddle out XXX. And then actually there in the summer, it was, well, I'm already wearing my boardies, grab my board, see you later. And you're in the surf, you're in the lineup within 5 minutes. Whereas, so it's like, it must be, and that was the best thing ever. I was like, oh, I could fit in a surf for an hour now. Like, so for them, like that must be so easy to go and surf. And
it's great. And like for kids, one of my friend's kids, he's 11, he rips at 11.
Yeah.
And my son's there's no chance he can do that because like I'm not letting him surf here in winter because I don't want him in a 4-3 booties and a hood, and you got to make sure they got a hood, and I'd make sure he wore earplugs because you don't want them to get bones growing in their ears and stuff. And honestly, he's not keen. Like what kid is unless the parents pushing them? There's no kid that's keen to get out there at 4 degrees early in the morning and go for a surf. Like it's just uncomfortable. Like it's all right for us because we're adults and we understand the pros and cons.
With where you are as well, on certain swells and certain days and stuff, there's not a safe spot. Like there's smaller spots and bigger spots, but it's still not safe. It's still a ridiculous.
We could go to Hyundai, and honestly, it's just a selfish thing where I could just dedicate my life to my son surfing, and forget about it for myself. And some people do that, but fuck that. You can't like live your life through your kids. If he wants it, I'll let it happen for him later on instead of me being that dude. I can't stand seeing that with I can't like.
No.
Whether that obviously that's what you need for your kid to end up these days to be a pro in a place like this for sure, because they don't have access to just doing it themselves anymore, and they're fighting against all these little super groms like Kanoa who've grown up, Kanoa and Leo that were hand fed it from their parents and sponsors from when they were 10.
Well,
which is a good interesting thing about 22, dude. Huh? Yeah. Look at the two different. Look at that little crew, Kanoa, Griff. I'm throwing at you now because we can have Surfer of the Year. You'll say you'll come up. You give me your things after that. You want me to reply on, but I'm gonna throw one here at you. Sorry, outsiders, for being a bit left field. You've got this crew that grew up together: Kanoa, Leo, Jack Robbo, Mikey even hung with them a lot. He was just a bit older than them, and by the time they were teenagers, there was Griff, and Zeke Lau as well, because Leo was over here. That was Quicksilver. Then they were all underneath Jake Patterson getting coached for a while.
Yeah.
Now look at them. They've all got vastly different sort of personalities and careers, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And
who is the shining star out of that crew? If you got 1 second to name someone,
I'd say Griff.
You would, wouldn't you?
But
I want to say Jack.
I'd say Jack. Yeah. The thing is, I mean, realistically, it's when you think about it a bit more, it probably is Jack. Like, especially now,
I put him down as for when you said, well, who do you think is Surfer of the Year? 22. I'm saying Jack, just because that's someone, like it was what surfers if they can fulfill their potential, and he did.
Yeah, well, if you look at his year, I mean, I think it's a completely fair shout. He finished second in the world, or third in the world with how it plays out or whatever, but he was second in the world, really. Comp wins, amazing stab in the dark, where his surfing was like, that was early this year. People forget about it, but his surfing was just absolutely next level. He was pretty clutch at some events, and also in free surfs and stuff. He just looked amazing. And then if you kind of relate it to the point you were saying, he's just announced he surfed with Red Bull, or signed with Red Bull. That's huge. Like, huge. Still surfs for Volcom. Like, I think this year's the first full year that he's done where he's been on Sharp Eyes exclusively, and he's doing well. He's got like Boost Mobile and stuff. So sponsorship wise, I would say that probably
Jack's rolling in it for life.
Yeah.
From now.
And I would just say the reason I kind of initially said Griff is I think that Griff also competitively has had a phenomenal year. Weirdly won 2 events, but still didn't make the top 5. But for me, his film with his brother, DNA, I thought was incredible. And he was also Griffin was part of a couple of stab things that I thought were really, really cool, like the stab highways and where his brother was with that thing that we spoke about with Mick Fannin and stuff. So I thought Griff had a super good year as well. But yeah, it's hot.
So do you think that Griff and Jack have, in some regard, overshadowed Gabrielle and John? This year, anyway.
Over the year, I'd say injured. Because they've both been injured and stuff. Like, John's movie Gravity is ridiculous, and to be honest, I think it's kind of it's underappreciated because it's John. Like, that movie was just absolutely ridiculous. But
like if anyone else was doing that stuff, you'd just
you'd
freak
lose
out,
your
wouldn't
mind. But I think when you talk
you?
about a
Year
whole
old as
year,
well, huh?
yeah. But when you talk about a whole year, I would say that. I mean, yeah, I would say that Jack and Griffin have had years that would deserve to be put higher in a list than Gabby and John. Yeah.
And then the elephant in the room, Toledo, who won the world title, but somewhere it's just underwhelming, isn't it?
But yeah, and because he only surfs on the world tour, which is all he's meant to do, and that's great. But my question to you and your question that you've proposed back to me isn't who was the best WSL surfer of the year. It was who's the surfer of the year. And when I asked you that question, so my answer, and I put this on my stab poll thing as well.
And we don't have to care who the best WSL
No.
surfer is of the year because they've got a format and they crown someone.
Yeah. See, my answer for it is Victor Bernardo, because over the last year, he's the one person who his clips, especially of him surfing mid lengths and different style boards and different style waves, his clips are what's made me want to go and surf more than anybody else. And also he was a guest, which was sick. But for me, Victor's year was the year that, like, I still go through his Instagram now and like look back at it and like, yeah, that board looks sick. I want to surf it in those style waves and stuff. So it's not always,
He's got a crazy good style, hasn't he?
Such a good style, and he can ride like anything. But so for me, that is more important than Felipe. Felipe didn't even come into my thought process, but
and me either.
He had a great year competitively,
and I thought it was weird, but because then all the other dudes pulled out, I never said anything about it. I thought too much about it. But wouldn't it have been perfect for him to do the Vans pipe comp?
100%. Yeah,
to just get more experience, put himself out there, silence the critics. Doesn't care.
Something
doesn't
was
want
up
it.
With that comp.
Doesn't care. Doesn't want it.
I personally, I don't know what it is, and this is like a conspiracy theory, but something was up with that comp because John doesn't pull out of pipe comps ever, and he pulled out. The goat
as a protest, I reckon.
The goat pulled out, no idea why, and then like Medina and I mean Felipe, you could argue like he should be in it. Like go and get your reps without having to battle a crew.
I'm not surprised Medina pulled out. Like he'd been injured. He doesn't care.
But I was surprised
he kind of goes into his stealth Batman sort of image, doesn't it?
Surprised like Italo pulled out as well, but especially John. But so yeah, for me, so who is your surfer of the year, Jack?
Yeah, I'm rolling between Jack and Torren Martin.
Yeah, I mean, Torren was second on my list.
Now I'm saying Torren just because, honestly, for me, he's just living the surfer's dream. Like if I could do it, that's what I'd be doing. I wouldn't like if they said to you tomorrow, that's what you can do, like and gave you the ability, like injected you with that's what will happen. I wouldn't be picking the
you wouldn't be going on title, no,
to a thing. I'd be just doing that.
Yeah,
because like if you have the coin and everything, that's like that. You get
exactly,
and with no one even there apart from a filmer, and obviously I do it without a filmer.
Yeah, well, his film is his best mate as well. So
yeah, how fun is it? Like it's just there's just that's my film series of the year too. By the way, Matt was Lost Atlantic. There's one scene where he surfs that port. I think it's a port. This right-hander by himself. This kind of reefy in Scotland somewhere. By himself or northeast England. I'm not 100% sure where it is. And there's the bag. He's got like bagpipes, music, and everything.
It's Scotland,
and it just blew my mind. I was just like thinking how unreal that would have been paddling out into that lineup. It wasn't anything crazy. It was like 6, maybe a couple of 8-foot sets and stiff offshore. No one out. It was just fucking heaven.
I know exactly where it is. I won't say where because we don't do that. But yes, that series.
He just nailed it.
That series that lost track is incredible. Again, not just for the surfing as well. It's for like how they do it and the way that they do it. And I agree with your pick with Torren. Your reasoning on it was pretty much the exact reason I picked Victor. Is like that surfing and what Victor's done the last year. I wish it was me. Like 100%. He's traveled. Victor's been all over the place. He's been like obviously Mexico, Cali, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica. He went like Australia, Bali, and then he even went to weird places like South Korea and stuff and surf wave pools. And you're just like, yeah, hell good year. Like, and obviously,
yeah, but I don't think he can. I don't think he can touch. I'm not saying he's not better because he's fucking. I'm not even talking. I don't like that either. Sometimes having to pick who's better or not. But honestly, Torren's redefined surf culture with his popularity, with the twins, the mid-length twins with channels. Then all of a sudden you see he goes out on a short twin and you see how actually technically incredible he is as well.
Torren's quite funny because
front side and backside too, huh?
Yeah, what's funny about Torren is that now people are trying to become him, and he's not doing it. He's not doing this anyway, or there's no acting. Yeah, this is Torren Martin living how he wants to live his life, and it in fact is incredibly commercial and incredibly great for people like you and I to watch and be inspired by. And it's just for him and for the brands he's aligned with, it's incredible that it's had that impact. And for everybody else out there, there's people trying to recreate it, that you're going to be compared to him, and you shouldn't really be trying to do it. So
yeah, but you can. There's the thing. People like slag off a lot, hipsters and shit like that. But why not slag off the jocks? Like, who gives a fuck about going to the gym and everything? Like, some people do it and are into it and everything, huh? But you don't have to do that shit to win. Where surfing is just an individual, creative, and self-enriching 100%. Sport.
Or just don't slag anyone off. Like if you want to ride,
and if people are wearing something to look cool, I always think, fucking, that's cool. Like,
well, that's the thing is,
would you not want to look cool? I think. Why would you fucking slag someone off because they wear a pair of shoes or shirt or something to look nice or cool, or they've got an image in their head where they're trying to be a part of, and people like to, have a whack at it. But the whole world's based around fashion and its effect, like fucking whole world.
100%.
And you can and you could say you don't judge a book by its cover. Bullshit. Fucking everyone judges a book by its cover.
Definitely. And
some people don't, and good on them, and that's fucking that's good as well.
Definitely. For me,
some
it's
people
like
don't give a fuck.
100%. Like for me, it's like, what if someone wants to ride a thruster and go to the gym and be all buff and do that? Then honestly, good for you. You're probably healthy and you're living that lifestyle. If someone wants to like longboard, I find longboard is so hard. I've got so much respect for people who can longboard well, because I think it's fucking difficult. I'm like, crack on. Like, and sometimes I get annoyed with myself because I'll see like a supper in the lineup or like a bodyboard or something.
And you get your shit with them, and you've got to tell yourself to not be so judgmental.
Well, yeah, and it's all in my head. Like, and then they don't bother me, or nothing ever happens. And then I think to myself, well, fuck, like at least they're out in the water, they're active. They could be doing like a lot worse than supping or riding a bodyboard and stuff. And I just try and even say to myself, like, get a grip of yourself, you freak. Like, you don't need to judge people. Like
people that are getting pissed off at fucking people. Oh, it's the big one. But they poor old, is it Mercedes, the Sprinter?
Yeah, people. Yeah, for some reason, the last
fucking going nuts about a fucking Sprinter with his resin tint board. Well, good that he's fucking got sprinter in a resin tent fish instead of out fucking crippling people or raping people, doing all sorts of weird shit. And if they want to buy into that, it's creating jobs in the surf industry for other people. Huh?
Well,
that don't have to sell pharmaceuticals.
It's all jumping on a bandwagon as well, though, because I think literally Dane Reynolds made one comment about Mercedes sprinters 6 weeks ago, and then all I've heard since then is people talking about sprinters and shit, and I'm like, fucking get your own opinions on shit as well. If you're going to be judgmental about people, at least let it be your own judgment and not someone else's.
And you know what? If we got to get him on Phil Grace. If you had Phil Grace on, you know what he'd do? I'll even throw in a bit of a Gracie. Oh, it does. That's a great van, huh? They're fucking. That's a great van.
Yeah.
Good. I wish I'd like to go out and get one tomorrow if I had a bit of spare coin.
Same. Yeah, but what about females? Talking about I guess.
Yeah, females. I've got that wild in because they're coming into mainstream so much more than what it was, which is normal because there's so many more of them and it's good. But I think it's hard to go past two. Caitlin Simmers and obviously Sierra Kerr. I think Sierra Kerr just basically nailed it by getting that barrel pipe and also being able to do the air she does. Even though I think special mention, but she doesn't need the special mentions to Carissa Moore, who got fucking that backdoor barrel, which was just insane. Insane, incredible. But those two young girls, I think, will be close to unstoppable.
Yeah, I think there's a few of them. For me, over the year, I still pick Steph because
she was incredible what she did.
But also because of, she's just released this new clip called "Natural High," where she's on a pickle fork, Ryan Birch. And earlier in the year, they released the film.
Yeah, but it doesn't look that. Okay, sorry. Quick criticizing. I stick my nose in all the time. It still kind of looks like a shortboard, the pickle fork thing she's riding. It doesn't really look anything too different to me.
Yeah, I would agree, but her surfing still. And then earlier in the year, she released the well, it wasn't just her, but her and Macy and Dimity Stoyle and Nikki Van Dyke released the film called Surfing. And
that was epic.
That was epic. So I slightly edged it towards Steph over, and second for me was Katie, because again, even with her comp stuff, the Ramble On series that she's done, I think is really, really good as well. And so I personally picked Steph, but Katie very close second. And
do you think Katie's got it's so hard, she's young? Do you think she's got the fortitude and parental backing to not let the American hype machine smash her?
Yeah, I think so. She's got such an air of Dane about her, where it just seems like she just naturally just doesn't care. And I think
seems semi-detached.
Yeah.
Undetached. Detached?
Yeah, semi-detached, like a house, but only one side on it. No, but she's cool, and I think that I think she's got enough of a, I don't really care what people think. If you want to score it, sweet. If you don't, I'm still going to do it because it feels good. Element to her. So
talking about hype machines, and this is another, just throwing it in there just because it's relevant, so I don't forget. Is Chloe past his taxi rank?
You would think so. I see the surfing that other people are doing, and I think, I just think
it doesn't seem to be in the conversation anymore. Where Griff took his mantle as the new Californian thing, the American thing, huh?
Yeah. The way with
Ballaram one pipe
with Kalohe,
so he's got the East Coast wrapped up.
Yeah, with Kalohe, you just kind of everything's a 6. he was almost the best air guy on tour because he qualified early and stuff, and he's been left behind with that. He's not got the best rail game. He's got a good rail game, not the best. He's not the best in the barrel. He's good, but he's not the best. So it's like he will do well up until a point where his 6.33 average wave score is beat by someone who's getting 8s and 9s. So yeah, and weirdly, a question to you about that is, if you were Kolohe, would you continue to do the tour, or would you try and pursue something?
Maybe not. Honestly, and it's funny, but I don't think he can switch off because he's into that. And what I think is going to be super interesting is at one stage at this big dinner when Kelly won a world title, there was all these heavy hitters from Quick there, and Bradley told me that Belly said to him, oh, but fuck Kolohe, wait till you see Maxime, because they were the same age at the time, and that was when Kolohe was coming around the world tour with his dad, who was team manager at the time, and he'd just surf next to the comps, and I saw him surf next to the comps and everything. He was all right, but Maxime was kind of as good, if not better.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see what Maxime does against Kolohe and other people, because maybe they've had to push themselves more than he has. It's really hard, because with Kolohe, like I say, is his film that they done this year, which like that Reckless Isolation, which I think was this year, or 2022, was amazing.
It was last year.
But that was great, and he played a lot of that, like part of that in terms of it, directorship as well as his surfing in it. And his surfing in that was like, I remember watching that and thinking, oh, Kolohe could do some damage on the tour this year, and then he just doesn't look bothered. Which
no, and like honestly, he's got it. I reckon his backhand's better than his forehand, and he charges. He's got everything. A lot of people have got everything, and they can't convert. I just think it'll be interesting to see how, like, Maxime and Ramsey, who similar, like, level, era, age, everything. Kolohe, the American wonder kid, California, who's traveled one direction in his career on the tour, made millions. Them two lost their sponsors, struggled, grinded, and now they're meeting back up together.
Yeah.
Will those two be able to convert now that they've got their chance? We'll see. And then
pressure's a funny thing, isn't it? Because pressure is like, they've realistically, Max and Ramsey have got more pressure and less pressure than Kolohe. Like, they've got less expectation, but then if they don't make it, they've got to go back to the grind, and they know all of that, what that's all about. But then, so pressure's a funny thing. It goes both ways.
I just think that them two, they're obviously, I'm talking about them. We're in Europe, so that's why I'm really interested to see how they go. But I just think they've got the ammunition. Let's see, if they can handle the pressure. But before I jumped in on that with Kolohe, we were talking about Katie and the hype machine, and the same thing could happen, and it's early with that Erin Brooks, because, like, how old is she? Is she only 14?
15 now, but she was 15. Yeah.
And making the final at Padang.
Yeah. The funny thing with Erin is she's like,
they all reckon she's just a working machine and all that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that won't burn you out.
But she's a weird one, because she's almost under the radar and above the radar. Like, she gets a lot of hype and then she disappears, and then she gets a lot of hype and disappears. But I think they're kind of being sensible with her. Maybe same as like with Sierra, is I think Josh has kept her out of a few. I think Josh has kept her away from comps, like normal comps at the moment, like knowing that she doesn't need to be burnt out and things like that. But
he never did them. He stopped them. He did the Air Series, and then when he wanted to qualified with his
Yeah.
fucking eyes closed.
But yeah, Erin's on those weird ones, isn't she? Because she should be part of every conversation you have about women surfing, except she does disappear and then reappear, and you're like, suddenly you see every single thing on your social media feed is her doing something ridiculous, and then you won't see her again for 3 or 4 months, which is kind of a good thing for her. But
Well, see, that was the thing with the guys we talked about at the start. Like Leo was a machine when he was a kid too. Like he went to Australia one time by himself when he was 14
yeah,
for
that's
an
mad.
hockey comp at Lennox, and pushed belly into it, and his mum and everything, and he went by himself, and someone picked him up from the airport and everything, and he won it when he was there. Huh?
Yeah,
And it still was 6 or 7 years later before he qualified. Like it's a long thing, but he was intense at that young age and was able to keep it. And same was Kenara. I was at dinner sitting next to, that's another story one day, but I was sitting opposite Kelly and his girlfriend because I got there, I thought I was last, and then they walked in after it, and I got stuck next to them, which kind of could sound super cool if you're a bit of a groupie, but if like they're kind of quiet and weren't really ready to talk, and I'm a bit of an extrovert sitting on the end there, and kind of had to push them into conversation. And Kanoa and Leo come up, and that was when they were like 13, I think, something like that. And Kanoa just came up and go, "Hey, you going, Kelly?" He was just pumped, huh? Like
yeah,
the little super groms, and now they're doing it. Ken, Erin, and Katie. I mean, Tyler Wright did. She was the super grom, get onto the tour, but she struggled before she won the titles.
yeah, yeah. You've got like Katie done the whole Taj Burrow not going on tour for a year kind of thing, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And
Yeah, not going on tour for the year. I still think that's a bit weird. Not going on a tour for the year, but she's all traveled around the whole world and still
yeah,
went on tour.
but I think yeah,
She just didn't do the #1 world tour.
yeah, and yeah, yeah, basically
It's like she did a lot of living. It's not like she went back to school every day.
no. So
But she just doesn't need to, I don't think, does she?
no, basically no. So before we go on to, because we kind of already spoke about it, but while we're in conversation and talk about competitions, like, and this doesn't have to be a world tour event, but like, do you have a pick of what your favorite event or your standout event for last year
Oh,
was?
J Bay. J Bay. I
Yeah,
just love watching
me
J Bay.
too.
And it was the one they
Got my
got.
notes.
Yeah, it was the one that they got where the waves delivered. And like what
Yeah,
happened to this poor Vans pretend pipe masters is if you don't get the premium, you can do everything like what they did for J Bay. You can do everything on hype and marketing. If you don't get the waves, it's just a letdown. But
exactly. You
J
got to
Bay was
watch something at the
going
end of the
off.
day.
J Bay was going off, and everyone's nearly new favorite surfer, even Ewing, hit his marks. It was like fucking poetry in motion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was literally like if you could have dialed up conditions and a wave and an event and a timing of, right, what do we want? Like, everyone wanted Ethan to win an event. Well, we did,
And all of a
especially.
sudden, people weren't that stressed that John and Gabrielle were in it,
No, yeah,
because somewhere you were thinking, oh, okay, there could be an asterisk over if someone wins it, but I don't know if they could have beaten him anyway.
not
We'll never know, but
not the way he surfed. Because even, I
no,
mean, the way Jack Robinson surfed in that final as well was
yeah.
like elite level, and but Ethan was just from. I think there was one heat he scraped through, and I thought to myself, you dare lose this, because he was my
Yeah, it was
survival.
stressful, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was my survival pick for that event, and I think the event, he had one heat where it was close, and I was like, don't you even think about losing, and he made it through rightly as well, and then like he was on a different planet pretty much for the rest of the event on those waves. that was my favorite event. That was the event where I didn't want to miss a heat. Even whoever, like I remember Yago Dora absolutely blew my mind out there, and there was a few other people, and it was the one event where I was like, I want to watch every heat. I was probably going to bed way too late, waking up way too early, and was still just like, this is sick. I love J Bay. That was my company year as well.
That was funny because like this is so before your era, but like for when we were growing up with my friends and stuff, like all these people would win comps, and they're all great surfers. Like Barton Lynch won a lot, Damien Hardman, even Tom Carroll. Tom Carroll Machine, Tom Curran Machine. They were the freaks. The two Toms were a bit different. They were classed as freaks. But Occy, everyone wanted Occy always to win, and he never never really would. And then he won the world title because that's who everyone loved, his style and his persona, and he's just like smashed it with such good style. And that's kind of what Ethan Ewing has kind of brought, even though he's nothing like Occy in personality or anything. But when he's on surfboard, it's the same thing. It's just like I nearly would have put him as surf of the year, but I still think he's got a bit to step up. He doesn't have Jacks or Gabrielle's or John John's or even Atala's ammunition in heavy waves yet.
Yeah, Pipe will be interesting for Ethan.
It could come. I saw there was a little clip on him. Did you see the clip talking about his best waves of the year?
I didn't know.
Oh, that was sick. I'll see if I can find it for you. Billabong maybe released it. And he does a breakdown of all his best waves of the year. It's unreal.
Oh,
it's a really good wave at Pipe.
Probably was released while
and good waves at Tahiti as well.
Yeah. Oh, talking about things that have just been released that's sick. This is complete sideball, but if you haven't seen it, on Nathan Florence's Instagram, he's posted 12 different barrel POV type things on his GoPro from 12 different places in the world from last year. It's fucking sick.
I haven't seen it.
It's so
I don't
sick.
like POV though.
No,
is that like GoPro, you mean?
Yeah, I hate it as well, but this is like for me, I was like, fuck, like, because it's like, I think it goes like pipe, backdoor, the Mentawis, Shipster.
And he's kind of the free surfing Jack, isn't he? Of most improved.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then it goes like there's places in Scotland, there's places in like Ireland, Mulligamore, and there's a place in two places in Portugal, I think. And I don't know, it's a sick clip on Instagram. I watched it this morning and was like, that's real cool. But
and he doesn't have fear.
He's nuts.
Like, it's fucking scary watching some of that shit he does.
Yeah.
It's scary enough watching all of them do it, but like just paddling out of places that he hasn't surfed before.
The paddle outs, and that's why I like watching Nathan's stuff, because actually you get to see on some of his stuff, you get to see that he has to battle like a 15-minute paddle out and get sets on the head and stuff like that. It's not all just...
They've got different sponsors, but it could be the ultimate surf trip of the year. Couldn't it be him and Mason Ho?
Well, can you imagine if you got John, Ivan, and Nathan all on one trip, like just them, and maybe like, yeah, just that would be sick as well. But
hey, so we saw the women that they've got incredible juniors, and the guys, we already talked about this, they don't sort of have the same sort of firepower in the juniors. And I notice a lot of people are talking about Huey Vaughan. I know his older brother Joel, and I think Huey was benefited from obviously the stab in the dark. What was it? Stab high exposure.
Stab high, yeah.
But it doesn't. Is it because guys now actually aren't really coming into their own until they're 25 and above, which happens in nearly all other sports, where if you look at gymnastics, female swimming, all those sort of things, the girls will just fight. They mature quicker, physically and mentally. And by 15, 16, they're ready to rock. I think it's that, isn't it?
I think so. I was thinking this the other day. I was thinking like, who is the next Gabby? Who is the next John? And where are they going to come from? And I know that there's like he's still older though. There's that Luke Swanson who people keep talking about as being real good and stuff. But I still think he's already like 19. It's different to what we're talking about.
And the Aussie kid Jay Glindeman,
yeah, but he's old
incredible
as well.
style and everything, but there's just not enough exposure.
No,
He
and
doesn't
there's
have enough exposure. I don't think he does comps, does he?
no, and the other one who I really enjoy watching surf, who is the same as Jai, is Oscar Langburn.
Yeah, yep.
He's only 14 or 15. He doesn't do comps, and he's obviously just like free surfing type style. I love watching his stuff. I think his surfing's sick, but I don't think he's going to get the exposure on that free surfing level until he's a lot older, a bit like Craig Anderson did and stuff. So, it's weird, and yeah, I don't know where any of these people come from, and it made me wonder actually, like, why do Stab not do? They done one thing with a Craig Anderson boat trip where it was like I think it was the Innocents or something it was called, and it was a group of like, this is a couple of years old now, but it was like Al Cleland Jr. and Luke Swanson and there's a couple of others on there that I've forgotten the names. Names go over my head. And it was a sick boat trip, and they got to surf with Craig Anderson and stuff, and it was really cool. And you got to see these like what you'd expect to be the next like group of young surfers coming up. And you see Stab do Stab High, and they take the ladybirds, and like why do they not do like an under-16s boys comp?
And why is now it just Stab and WSL?
Well, yeah,
and no one else exists. Used to be the brands, didn't it?
100%. Like I do
Used to be
wonder,
other things. No one else exists. My favorite
just
surf magazine from my youth, Tracks,
yeah,
which they're great. And I read it still. They've got a few items. I'm trying to work out whether I go premium, but I just get it on digital. But it seems to be a little bit of a monopoly between
yeah.
you got WSL telling us one thing and Stab telling us the other. And honestly, you could be better off sometimes, especially in surfing. I will recommend this to all of our outsiders here. Switch off and don't listen to either of them. Just use them for entertainment, but
Yeah.
not
Well, that's the thing
necessarily
is
advice.
I love Stab, like I love everything they do, like, and I think they're great. But there's a couple of things like lately, especially where I've heard things coming out of them or seen things that they've released, and I mean, yeah, like for example, they didn't criticize the Pipe Masters, the Vans Pipe Masters once because they
Because they
were
were
involved in it.
partners in it.
Yeah, they were involved, and they're definitely involved with Vans, like whether they've got Vans money and Vans have invested in them or not. But like they didn't criticize it at all. And I'm like, well, part of the reason why I enjoy what Stab do is because most of the time it feels authentic, and it's like if they want to criticize something, they criticize it, and if they want to big it up, they big it up. And they're the first people to jump all over the WSL, but they didn't criticize the Pipe Masters at all. And I felt like that was a little bit like, you know, is Stab becoming influenced by money more than it has been? And then like you said, where do you go to get your kind of fresh perspective of what's going on in surfing, or who's producing something that we can watch and we can enjoy and stuff where it's authentic?
Hey, so there, and it's not even from this year. And believe it or not, it's on Red Bull. Another evil perpetuator of consumerism. But there's a Wayne Lynch film on there that I always knew who Wayne Lynch was, and like he got a lot of rep because he surfed this wave here in France. called Le Bar, and this film, I sent you the link. It's on Ripple. It's free.
Yeah.
If you can watch it, outsiders out there, it's insane. He was like the first Kelly Slater sort of thing.
Yeah, it's
Like
called. It's
his
on Red Bull.
ability and his commitment to surfing. I'm not going to say it's unparalleled, but it was impressive.
Yeah, it's you sent it to me and I've watched it and it is, because I'll tell you a story about it. But
It's ridiculous. See him on those double-ended mini male single fins.
yeah, so it's called Uncharted Waters. If people want to check it out, and it actually, funnily enough, leads to something, because I watched that the day you sent it to me. I had just watched the Yin and Yang of Jerry Lopez, which is
yeah, another great film. Great film.
I think it's absolutely horseshit.
Okay.
I think
he's a little bit corny. The
first 15 minutes was really good.
Okay.
And then I thought the next hour and a half was basically a story on
sleep halfway. But
then
I rewatch bits.
It goes on to a story of how Jerry Lopez managed to sell out he sold out, in my opinion, and fight me.
It was like a lightning bolt.
Yeah, he sold out so hard. Like, he put lightning bolt everywhere. He went from being core and there's a quote in the film that say, well, he sold out, but he had so much cool in the bank that it was okay. And I was just like, fuck this guy. Like, he sold out so hard, and if people done that now, he'd get absolutely ripped apart. But because he'd done it, it was okay. I don't know why. And
but he walked away. He walked away from it. If you watched it closely, he did walk away from it.
He walked away from some. Yeah, he did walk away from some. But a long time afterward, and he's still doing it. Like, to this day, he's still like plastered everywhere. But it's like, I thought to myself, like, this film's not a good film. And loads of people told me it's an amazing film and you need to watch it and stuff. So I watched it with like high hopes and was just like, this is shithouse. And then
I actually liked it because I didn't know about his Hollywood career. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
that got a bit of coin out of it.
And I thought it was quite, because I liked the beginning bit, because
it's nothing on Uncharted Waters though.
No,
is it?
Yeah, because then I watched what you sent me, and I was kind of like, I was a little bit like, oh, people had really recommended the Jerry Lopez film to me, so I was a little bit like, oh fuck, like, I'm not going to be disappointed again or whatever. And the Uncharted Waters was completely different. I was like, I knew nothing about this guy, and to me, he's fucking cooler than Jerry Lopez now. Like,
and so watch, and this is for listeners as well. There's this. I'll send you. There's a 9-minute video on this shark story from Wayne Lynch, and it's one of the most hardcore 9-minute surf stories I've ever heard. It just shows how extremely core surfers can be around the world, and similar with skiers are. Like, they're up there in avalanches, dudes are dying every year.
Yeah,
my wife's had patients who've seen shit and had friends die, girlfriends die, and they still get back out there. It's like a magnet. Like, they can't keep themselves away from it. And it's the same with surfing.
With us. Imagine, like we've all had like a bit of a wipeout. Like, one of my close friends, his name's Chef. You've met him. He had a really bad. It was here, like, it was not really life threatening, but he got pinned by a wave and he got wrapped around a groin, and he panicked, and he was talking to me and he said it took him like 6 months to get over it, but he was still surfing. That whole 6 months he was still surfing, but he was surfing with this like fear and this anxiety and stuff. And I was just like, it's weird how surfing does that to you, in terms of like, you have to go no matter what. But yeah, you send me that, because it is. I love things like that. And
I read a really good article on the guys surfing with epilepsy as well, which was incredibly inspiring. And just see how, like, I can't imagine it where you have a doctor say, look, you can't do it. And there was like a couple of people died this year, like
Kalani,
Well,
David.
Kalani David died, and you just can't imagine like not doing this thing in your life. It's like what's more important, and that's the thing with with work as well. Like I got a couple of new boards, and I was sitting there, I was thinking, I don't have this, and I don't have that. And 20 years ago, if I had looked at my quiver now of boards and wetsuits, I would have just been saying to myself, you've done it, Gazza. You've made it.
Yeah.
Because you got the quiver. That's what you need. You need the boards.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
take you to places where you can't catch and catch waves that you can't catch.
Yeah. And just like you say, there's what's really cool that we said about Kalani David. So unfortunately he died this year. And when he died, they released a little, I think it's 6 minutes long, and it's a clip of him surfing. But the intro is of him talking after he got his diagnosis, which for people who don't know, he got a diagnosis that I think it was something to do with a heart condition or whatever. But it was basically like surfing is such a risk to him that he shouldn't do it. And long story short is basically he said he'd rather surf and risk dying than never surf because he won't be able to live. And it's strong and it's powerful. And the little 6 minute clip's definitely worth watching. And it just puts things into perspective. Like any one of us, fingers crossed we don't, but any one of us could get a diagnosis tomorrow that is like, you've got a short term left to live, and you got to kind of think to yourself, how have you spent that time, and how have you spent your time? So shit, that got deep, but it's to start the year off. We need to get
surfing
deep.
For what we've got, Matt.
Yeah.
Hey, and so you also put, which I think is kind of hard. So what surfboard do you think was the most remarkable for you last year?
This is my equivalent of pick your favorite child when you have 15 children.
Good luck for your missus, mate.
Yeah, that ain't happening. The board that I was most impressed with is the one behind me, which is a 6.5 Album Disorder asymmetrical. That was my favorite board to surf. That's the one where I've had like waves and I've been like, holy shit. But recently I surfed a really good 6.1 Morris Cole. I surfed when I came down to see you. The 6.4 Ghost really blew my mind. Paizo Ghost. And I'd say, yeah, they're my top three. Fuck, that was hard though. But what about you?
I've got the 7.7 Fipsy One Bad Egg narrow quad swallowtail, which I've had since 2016, and it's hands down the best board of my life. No, not hands down, but it just can do anything.
Shit.
From 2 to 8 foot. It can just do anything for me.
I
But
just
also,
remembered,
like yourself, that 6.4 Ghost is incredible. I've still got it. I bought it.
Yeah, I just remembered one of my favorite waves of the year was on my Morning of the Earth board, my Morning of the Earth Fuji that I got recently, and I surfed it. I've only surfed it once, but one of the waves I got, I feel like that was the best I'd ever surfed on a wave. So that's got to be up there as well. You just reminded me that's
pretty exciting when that happens to her. And
yeah.
I'm gonna throw him out there and say Rob Vaughan with his twin pin.
Yeah.
Because especially for European listeners, because that's most probably most of our guys, and we're here in Europe. Because I got one of him in 2020 because he lent me a 6.6 of his.
Yeah.
Right after the lockdown, I saw him walking up the beach and he said, "Yeah, take it." Like how cool they just take it, and just gave it to me. And I surfed it, and like after 4 waves, I rang back up and ordered one, and I got a 6.6. And then I made a mistake because I went down to a 6.4 when I should have went longer, and he told me to go longer. You got to listen to the shaper. You just think all this shit in your own head, but you can't. And I've seen so many friends down here, Paul Evans, So this French guy yesterday in the water, Shabby Lafitte, he was on one. And one of my other good mates, Scratch, they all swear by him. And every time I see him surfing them, they're all surfing really good.
Yeah.
Now, what's his name? Daniel Jones, is it? The morning of the afternoon.
Simon Jones.
Simon Jones. He's on the other side of the world, guys. Where if you get on Instagram and send a message to Rob, he's right here in Huscenot. You can come pick it up.
Yeah. Well,
these boards are incredible. It's a mid-length twin with drive.
I'm down in April, and I'll try and get one.
Yeah, I'll get you a test on one. I'll get you a test on one. You just bring one of yours. So you just bring that board behind you so I can test it.
Yeah, deal. And what, like, to wrap up, because obviously this is like about last year, but like, what do you want to see more of next year, like in the surf world, kind of thing? Like, let me kick it off actually, because it might help you out. There's two things on my list. Start with the first one's kind of easy. I want to see more surf films made by and featuring women. Like the surfing film that came out this year was one of my favorites, and I would love to see more women surf films. Like Ainara, who surfs the Pukas boards, she's super cool. I'd love to see like things that she's doing, and like the Ramble On from Katie was one of my favorite things from this year. So I want to see more women surf films than them just being included in comps and stuff, which is amazing. I want to see them up the levels, and I want to see people invest in women as well and be like, right, yeah, let's put together a surf film with women surfing it. Because I don't know if you've seen the Moana Jones thing that Stab done was sick as well. That was real good, and I want to see more of that basically. And there's plenty of women out there.
I was going to ask Sophie McCulloch that when we were talking to her, because she went back to uni and everything, and I was thinking, how hard is it for them through sponsorship to get someone to invest in an edit with them?
Yeah.
Or at the same time, I think it's them to do that for themselves, which is like what the great free surfers have done, is they're creating their own content.
Yeah.
Which I think that they've probably got to do as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second thing that I'm excited, it's not something I want to see more of, but there was something I watched last year it came to my attention, which is called the Usher Cup, which is basically like an international board riders event that this guy in Australia has put together. And last year was just Australian because of how it is. But this year, 2023, the Usher Cup has an international board riders competition basically in Australia, and I can't wait to watch that because I think that's going to be sick. Because I love watching the board riders when it's on. They have that one final day event thing, but I think that's going to be sick. So I'm excited to watch that next year.
I'd love to see, like, I love the electric acid thing. I love watching dudes that are incredible surfers not be on like normal sort of thrusters. Like, that's why I always loved watching Rasta surf, Torrent surf, and Ryan Birch. Did you ever see that on his 20 in Chile?
I think it's in Psychic Migrations.
That's it. Psychic. Yeah. I made Fipsy watch that. Is there other goofies coming back? Who's the best goofy footer in the world? All our surfers were natural footers.
Well, the best,
not Gabrielle, not Gabrielle,
Gabby, but yeah, Craig Anderson.
Yeah, he's getting a bit older. What about young Parker Coffin, who I reckon is better than his brother?
Very good, and yeah, he's sick. And who's the other goofy foot who's sick? Well, like I said, I think Yago is one of the most stylish, and I think Yago's sick. And Ryan Callanan next year is going to be lethal, I think. But for me, the best goofy foot in the world, I think he's goofy foot, is Chipper Wilson.
Yeah, he's pretty well. Of course, he's goofy foot. He's pretty.
Yeah, he's sick. I think Chipper's sick. But Anything for you to add, Daz? We'll wrap that up there.
Let's wrap up with some do's and don'ts.
Okay, so easy.
I've got some
do's and don'ts. I can jump straight in. I've already kind of said one, but do give yourself a break from surfing. Get away, get off your social media, 2 or 3 days, just reset your mind, and it'll make you more stoked to get out there. So that is a do. And my don't, which you've already again said, is don't worry about other people's shit. Like you do you, let them do them, and just don't worry about other people. Stress less about other people, and just keep yourself calmer. So they're my do's or don'ts. Hit me with yours, Daz.
That's a pretty good one, the second one, because I remember this from a touchy topic when they voted for the gay marriage in Australia. There was a referendum, and my parents at the time, I think, was saying shit to me. What do they need to do it for? And the thing was, and I spoke to my sister about it, was it's not going to change their life.
No.
At all. How is it going to change my parents' life if these 2 guys or 2 girls down the street got married? They won't change their life at all. So just leave them.
Yeah.
It's none of your business.
100%.
Like what you said. My do is make a spot your local. There's nothing more important than having a connection and making that spot your local. Like, like here we've got probably 20 spots, but I've got one spot which, like, when it's good, that's what I dedicate to. And that's the only way you're going to end up getting set waves at a good spot. You just got to put in the time. It's not going to happen in 2 surfs. If you've just moved somewhere, you just got to dedicate it. And I noticed it when I went to Lafitte's yesterday, because I used to surf that place religiously all the time when I was at Quicksilver. And eventually you're able to get into not necessarily the pecking order, but the rotation. It was a little bit less crowded, and it also gives you a sentimental connection with somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's part of surfing as well. Obviously, it's great to travel and do all this stuff, and you got to keep moving around to keep away from people so that you're not always in a crowd. But if you put time at one spot, you'll get the good waves at that spot, and there's nothing better.
For me, just quickly to jump in on that. For me, like I've got the local here because I surf here and working and fin. And one of the most satisfying things is when you see a wave and you see someone who's not a local not reading it, and you see that wave and you go, right, this is going to be a sick wave, and you paddle it and you get it, and like you surf it well and stuff, and you're like, fuck, they didn't even see that. That's when you know your time out there is paying off as well, is when you get a read on a lineup better than someone just being able to rock up and like not see it. So I agree with you. What about your don't?
Don't spend too much time on fucking social media, man. You just see too many other people getting waves and too many other people doing this and too many other people. I've got a time limit on my thing because I'm like everything else. Like I used to wake up in the morning and always want to read the paper, so I need to read. I struggle having my mind just sit there still, which
100%. Funnily enough, that was one of the. I was in Paris, and I saw people taking photos outside of the Louvre and walking off. Right, they didn't go in, and I saw them do it. There's this thing called a speakeasy, which is basically like a secret bar where it looked like a laundrette, and then one of the things opened up and you was in a bar, but you had to queue to get in. And we saw people just go outside, stand outside it, take photos of themselves outside it, and never go in.
It's
and
sickening.
It was all for the ground, and you're just like, fucking hell. Like, and weirdly, I was just like, there was things I done in Paris that I didn't even have my phone on me and take photos of. There's loads of things I did because it was fun and memories and stuff. But you're definitely right. Is like social media is such a false like screen. You might see someone who it looks like they've got sick waves. That photo might be a year old.
Photos is fucking
anyway.
Big liars, because the wave will close out and we're going to run out of time, Matt. And I'm going to have a happy new year, mate.
Yeah, you too. Get great waves. We'll be back soon, and I'll speak to you soon, mate.
I'm going to surf as much as I can this year.
Same.
You.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to the episode, and just like to thank boardshop.co.uk for supporting us and giving us these mics that we can now get better quality for you guys on. And thanks for being there all year with helping us with all of our surf needs, from wetsuits, boots, boards, accessories, and everything else we need. Yeah, fellas, thanks very much.